As the teachings of Jesus, Buddha, and other spiritual traditions continue to gain popularity, a dangerous trend is emerging: the misuse and distortion of these sacred principles by those in power, governments, corporations, and religious leaders, seeking to manipulate and control the masses. This is a warning to those who would exploit these teachings for self-serving purposes, whether through political control, corporate profit, or social oppression. Be aware. Religious and spiritual teachings can be twisted to serve the interests of those who wish to suppress dissent and maintain control over the people. By selectively promoting the ideas of forgiveness, turning the other cheek, or detachment, power structures can convince oppressed populations to accept suffering rather than fight against injustice. This is not spiritual liberation, this is spiritual manipulation. True spiritual teachings call for compassion, justice, and action against oppression, not the passive endurance of systemic injustice. Mindfulness, once a practice of awareness, compassion, and liberation, is now a tool for corporate control. Mindfulness programs are being sold as a quick fix to workplace stress, making workers more tolerant of overwork and unhealthy working conditions, while ignoring the real problems of exploitation and inequality. Corporations are profitizing mindfulness, using it to make employees more productive, without addressing the root causes of workplace stress, unfair wages, overwork, and corporate greed. This is a misuse of Buddhist teachings that promotes compliance without change. The teachings of Buddhism are about breaking free from suffering, not helping people endure systemic exploitation. Misusing these teachings for corporate or political gain is a betrayal of the very principles they claim to uphold. The turn the other cheek teaching, often twisted by authoritarian leaders and regimes, can distract the oppressed from fighting for justice. Non-resistance is not about allowing oppression to flourish. It is a call to inner peace and compassion. When used to silence calls for social justice, it becomes a tool for keeping the oppressed passive while the powerful remain unchecked. Leaders who misuse this principle are dangerous. They will encourage individuals to suffer quietly, to endure their pain, but they will never address the systems that cause that suffering. Social justice is not about passivity. It is about action, compassion, and liberation. The rise of the mindfulness industry, a multi-billion-dollar market, illustrates the way in which Buddhist principles have been commodified and misused to pacify rather than liberate. Mindfulness programs are sold as the solution to stress and mental health issues, but they often distract from the systemic causes of suffering, such as capitalism, inequality, and oppression. Corporations and leaders who profit from these teachings while failing to address root causes are not promoting true well-being. They are manipulating people into believing that their suffering is personal and not a result of injustice or exploitation. Religious figures who encourage followers to accept their suffering without questioning or challenging the systems that cause it are misusing spiritual teachings for control. Whether it's a political leader, a corporate CEO, or a religious authority, those who promote passivity and blind faith are creating a culture of subjugation, not spiritual liberation. True spiritual liberation calls for the recognition of suffering, the willingness to confront injustice, and the commitment to creating a better world for all beings. Leaders who twist these teachings to suppress action or justify injustice must be held accountable. The true teachings of Jesus and Buddha are about awakening to the reality of suffering and working toward liberation, not about tolerating or enduring oppression. They challenge us to fight for justice, dismantle systems of inequality, and care for one another with compassion and solidarity. Beware of anyone who uses these teachings to reinforce oppression, increase profit, or consolidate power. Their interpretation is not just a distortion. It is a betrayal of the very principles these spiritual teachings seek to uphold. Do not think that you can use these teachings as a tool for exploitation or manipulation without consequence. The true essence of both Buddhism and Christianity calls for justice, compassion, and liberation. If you're using them to keep others in bondage or to protect your power, you are not just misusing them, you are betraying the very soul of what these teachings stand for. The truth will ultimately reveal itself. Spiritual principles cannot be twisted forever for the benefit of the few. They are meant to free, not to control. And those who attempt to use these teachings to manipulate others for their own gain will eventually face the consequences of their actions. True liberation comes from justice and compassion, not oppression and exploitation.